Here's the simple version. A lot is happening in the world right now. And the primary thing is positive. That's the simple version. The next level is we create our own reality in gigantic part. Now, you can't dream of being a star right now. You could do it. You can experience a little bit of it, but you're still in relation to this body in this lifetime. So the limits are defined by being here and sharing the space. This is a time in which the space we share involves many different powerful dynamics that are all passing the boundaries of where they've been. So thresholds of weather have broadened dramatically. More fires, more storms, more floods, more earthquakes. When the thresholds broaden, we can't avoid coming to terms with the fact that we live in a different kind of world. And when we do that, it's tempting to place the negative elements first. And that becomes all the more true when we become aware of the way in which our personal experience reinforces a feedback loop in reality. So the thresholds increase. When those thresholds increase, external events get more magnificent and terrifying. When they become more terrifying, we feel the impact, both of the actual events and of the heightened fear that such things are going to happen right where we are. Amidst that soup of fear, a feedback loop gets created where our own personal ability to create reality becomes a reaction to the forces around us. When we begin tapping our own personal strength to create reality into an essentially external fear, we avoid the internal fear. And this is where the work comes in, because the second level of impact, of dramatic and broadened limits, is that the positive energy floods into our system and dredges negative things to the surface that have nothing to do with floods and volcanoes. It has everything to do with trauma, everything to do with memories, everything to do with passing the boundaries of this lifetime and beginning to tap into feelings that you've carried from other lifetimes where you lived in starvation and war. And when that starvation and war has already, by the way, knock, 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 those things have already been present. They were present 20 years ago. There are more people in slavery right now than there ever were in any time in human history. That suffering exists. It's always been right here. And so when we begin to tap into memories of those circumstances from past lives, and I assert to you, you really have to come to terms with the fact that this is part of the equation that's happening. So we begin to get in touch with that. And there's a wrestling match that ensues because we've been trying to avoid pain from this lifetime. In trying to avoid pain from this lifetime, we're wrestling with the thresholds of what normal is, trying to block certain feelings while embracing other feelings. But as we establish again and again, you can't do that. You can't block the negative without at least dampening the positive. But then the energy in the world is surging to a higher level, which amplifies all the dynamics within us, and we lose the capacity to wrestle it down. So now we've got external disasters, which are undoubtedly happening. These trigger internal disasters that we've been wrestling down, and now we can't. So there's this potential to go into existential crisis, which is only heightened by the fact that we start to lose the ability to maintain the boundary just around this lifetime. This, my dear friends, is the bend of the world. Now let's add the worst level. The worst level is the innate and very rational fear that a new level of dynamic results. And that new level of dynamic looks like this. In response to fear, people often try to assert their power. Now, on an intrinsic level, this is rational and sane. When you're confronting a fear that threatens you, you want to be able to assert your presence. Now, just with a wild animal, you want to be able to assert your presence in a way that will somehow make you less of a target. There's a time to run, but you don't want to run if you don't have any chance of getting away. You certainly don't want to run if you could get away in a simpler way. Get away. What's the way? What is the way you respond to the fear in your circumstances? Are you able to maintain something within you that can question? And this questioning comes deep within the serenity prayer. Love, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Being present with that amidst the depths of fear, ooh, tight one. But here's what happens if you don't do that. If you don't do that, you either fight or flight. Fight, flight, or freeze. So you either become a victim to the forces, or if you fight it, but you fight it ineffectively, you could actually end up unleashing apocalyptic forces. What does that look like? Well, it's simple. People have always had anger, but we've developed ways of wrestling our anger down. We've always had resentment towards the people around us for the ways we live together poorly, but we've had the capacity to wrestle it down. But the thresholds increase, and all of a sudden, the angers and resentments are magnified and amplified. You look deeper into them, and then they get stronger because there's more energy everywhere. And if you haven't developed the capacity to shift and adjust and recognize what's happening, you start acting like an asshole. And acting like an asshole absolutely looks like exactly what people fear. But here's the thing. This has always been happening. It's just been happening at a lower level. We're not looking at something different. We're looking at something with dynamics exaggerated. And in those exaggerated dynamics, it's very legitimate that you start looking at your neighbors going, are they going to go crazy? And the more people start looking around each other questioning, are they going to go crazy? Are they going to go crazy? The more the fear heightens, right? Because everyone's asking this question. Everyone's kind of imagining the zombie apocalypse. I had a dream last night about a zombie apocalypse. I don't even think about zombies. I didn't watch a show yesterday that got it in my head. It's in the air. And the solution is to put a little B in front of the end. I hope you get the thumbnail. This is not the end. This is the end of something. It's not the end of everything. You have to kind of start here. The minute you commit to changing your perspective from end to bend, something starts to happen. What does that look like? Well, first of all, take it literally. You have a concept in your head of the worst, and I want you to presence this concept. Concept in your head of the worst that could happen. Now, maybe you carried something apocalyptic from before today. Maybe you didn't, and you're just like, dude, there was a fire the size of Lake Ontario. It's still burning. A fire the size of Lake Ontario burning is pretty scary. So it starts to become legitimate. What if that fire is looming over the hill? What do I do? You start thinking of what ifs, what ifs, what ifs, what ifs. How do you bend this? To answer this question in a way that doesn't just annoy you, I'm going to have to be even simpler. Fear is a vibration. When you stare at fear as if it's an idea or a concept or a potential, you're missing the more fundamental layer. So you can experience a fear as if you're like, it's so consuming that you're honestly in this experience of fire coming over the hill, right? You can be in relationship to a potential reality as if you're there. And of course, when you are in relationship to a potential reality as if you're there, it's becoming so consuming that it's changing your actual vibration in your body right now. Once you've changed your body's vibration right now, you're in a wrestling match with that vibration. this is a good thing. What we want to do is take fears out of your head and into your vibe. And the reason this is so awesome is they're intrinsically vibrational first. We're vibrational beings. Before you were on Earth, oh, wait, see, how do we do this, right? When I say this right here, you've got to embrace the ability to say before you were on Earth. If you aren't on board with a recognition that you are a spiritual being incarnate here into a human body, we can't do this. This doesn't work. From the awareness that you're a spiritual being having a human experience, you can recognize that a vision of your body being in danger of being burned is an intrinsically earthly, incarnated in a body kind of fear. So to bend that, we change the perspective and we say, yes, that is something that can happen here on Earth. In fact, it does happen. It happens on a smaller scale every day. There are fires in which people die. Somehow we've been living our lives up until now, not thinking about that very often. Really, we're just talking about percentages, statistics, probability. Once the probability crosses a certain threshold, we can no longer hold the potential at bay. But notice this is math. And this math is measuring vibrations. Once you feel the presence of fear, I want you to focus on the vibe. God almighty, it's kind of exciting. Now look, this is the same dynamic that caused people to go to haunted houses and horror movies. I was never really into haunted houses and horror movies. We tried it a little for a phase, my friends and I. It was mostly unpleasant, and I didn't want that shit in my head, but I did get it. It's kind of exciting to invoke fear. Huh. Weird. Now, this is traditionally the realm of people who seem a little sick, more fringe characters in our communities. And as of late in the United States, people are more and more worried that the kid who dresses in black all the time might be a killer, might become the school shooter. It's not entirely illegitimate. But be aware what's really happening is, dozens of people go crazy every year and do something like that. And thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people get off playing around with fear. You probably have a degree of boundary in your mind saying, I don't do that. Or you likely wouldn't be here. But you also probably know what I'm talking about, or you also likely wouldn't be here. I'm here to encourage you that this is the situation when you need to be able to tap into this shift between fear and excitement, because we don't get to negotiate about the presence of what's happening. We are living in a world where the core frequency of the earth has shifted. Yesterday, I got an extraordinary channeling that I'll be sharing later this week, explaining it on a level beyond what I anticipated. It really helps me find peace. My experience is that in general, Thoth is teaching me something for a while, gives me kind of like critical markers over the course of a week or two. And then I get pulled into this like vortex of a channeling, and a lot comes together, and I get taken deeper and more detailed and into, it's a new relationship to the same forces. And I get to rest in a sense of center, suggesting the critical thing, the biggest thing, the most fundamental thing that's happening is not a thing. Our fears are usually things. Someone goes crazy and has a knife. A fire takes over and looms towards our community. The grid goes out and people start acting crazy and killing each other and stealing food. But these are physical events that scare us most because it's our body that's wanting security. If you were just a spiritual being that couldn't be hurt, You could just walk through fires. I assure you, consciousness lives in fire. There are fire elementals. So the reason we're afraid is because we're seeking to protect our body. Now look, that might be obvious, but break it down because we're learning to be present with how to handle such fears. When you are in your body experiencing the potential for something to go wrong on the physical plane that would threaten your life, or certainly potential suffering on a high level, you want to feel the vibe. And I am inviting you to trust that the most fundamental thing happening here is that the core vibe of the earth just got a lot more beautiful. Why would the world allow such suffering? How could the world possibly be so cruel? It does. I mean, you can ask it, but be present with me. We got to move through it on this vibe. The reason it's allowed is because we create it. She's not torturing us. She's not mean. She does her best to minimize suffering where she can, but she's also at peace with death because she's perfectly well aware that we keep reincarnating. We have that potential. So the tragic end of the road in pain and suffering is not really the fundamental experience going on here. So she does have a degree of a smirk that's scary to see. A little bit of cut it out, get over it. She's there with that edge, which is there to kind of like chill out a little. Even if you die, you're going to make another choice afterwards. So get over the tragic elements. She has that. Next level, she's saying, there's a lot of beauty going on here. In fact, the beauty that is present is far more encompassing than the tragedies. The tragedies are ratcheting up. Why are they ratcheting up? Here, I'll go quick. Fires. Why are fires ratcheting up? Ecosystems are changing dramatically. Fire cleanses. Plus, we've logged and overemphasized a different kind of relation to the earth so much that we've actually prevented some fires from occurring that would have cleared swaths of land that enabled new fires to take over so much. So when fires happen seasonally in waves, they don't end up being so all encompassing. That's another layer. Another layer is we've actually poisoned the land very heavily. We're monocropping vast ranges of territory. So our relationship to the earth herself has evolved to this level of control. It's about control. We want to take more and more control over larger and larger tracts. Have you seen aerial photography of drones flying over cornfields in the Midwest? The Midwest grows more food than any area in the entire world. And we are monocropping gigantic ranges of it. This is like a kindergartner could understand that if you keep taking things out of the soil without putting those same things back in, you're not going to be able to get the same thing out. When you monocrop, the entire ecosystem exchange breaks down. You can't really replenish that in any way other than plowing herds of buffalo. Oh, buffalo, we killed the buffalo. Plowing herds of cattle over those fields. Oh, we don't let them run around because we want to eat them too fucking quickly. But that's what we need to do, is go in waves. You don't grow as much as you possibly can. You bring herds through the region. Wait, we don't do that because we cut up the land and ownership spaces. See, we've broken the system. And when the fire and the flood come, it's Gaia saying, fuck you. Really. And if you think that's mean, you're not participating in taking responsibility for how the human race has developed a relationship with the earth. Now, don't say it's not me. Don't be a liberal who's saying it's all me. There's a liberal guilt factor where it's like, oh, I do everything. Different version. We got to do something about this. And when we don't do something about this, fires sweep through to force a reset. When we don't do something about this, floods come in and force everybody to move. So when we move, ideally, we can reestablish healthier dynamics of interaction with each other. It's a gift that is preferable to the levels of awful reality we've been accepting for decades. We've been accepting awful levels of reality where family after family after family is full of hatred and pain. Women raped at home systematically on a normal level, kids beaten on a systematic level, their dreams broken on a regular basis, their presencing of a new vibration that's ideally bringing to life the gorgeous potential of a new generation broken on a regular basis because it's annoying. Human beings told they must work 8, 10, 12 hours a day to pay mortgages to small numbers of people who make enormous amounts of money. The way of life that we have normalized in the wealthier nations of the world is unacceptable. And the fact that many human beings are willing to tolerate it doesn't mean Gaia is. Gaia is saying, enough. Enough. And within this, she's not going to burn it all down. Now that you might have to trust me for. She's not even going to flood most of the cities. She's also not going to tell us or me exactly what she's going to do. Here's what she's telling me. Mostly to Thoth, because I get overwhelmed. So I refocus on him. There will be an increased heightened range of disasters for 20, 30 years. In the process, there will be a lot of miracles. Because the reason the disasters have increased is because they are a physics, karmic, energetic response to the levels of control humanity has tried to take. We've adjusted the ecosystems. We've adjusted the rate at which we put carbon into the air. We've overfished. We've massively shifted the balances, and she's rebalancing things. And in the process, destructive forces are unleashed on a more regular basis, which forces us to move around, leave whole areas clear. And part of that is planned. When forests burn down, it's not the same trees that grow back. The weather systems are changing, so different ecosystems are going to emerge. This is kind of a natural process during a big transitional time. Doesn't really take into account where the cities are. That's not really first on her agenda. But ironically, when 1 million people living in a city pray for the safety of their city, it does have an impact. Within this are miracles. The way to bend the fear is to feel it. While you're feeling it, you wrestle with it. You've got to. You wrestle with it. You can exist beneath the thresholds of the intensity of the fear that you live, that you just come into contact with, or you can own it. You can say, I am going to rise to be stronger than this. Now, as we mentioned, this can go awry. If you think you're responding with strength, but you actually end up evoking rage and allow that to continue to be a dominant guiding force, you're going to hurt somebody and yourself, and you won't actually be stronger than the fear you encountered. It's a misplayed attempt to react in a positive way to fear. It's you want to fight. When you fight, it evokes a strength that presences you and ideally helps with your survival. But you have to look through and bend it. That description just contributes to the end of the world. Apocalyptic neighborhoods, and there will be some, where whole groups of people go bonkers. Neighbors living with each other for decades, always coping with each other's fears. We sleep next to each other, people. We've been fighting, struggling, wrestling. Your bad moods are in response to someone shoving you energetically, not even knowing that's what's going on. You change the thresholds, all of a sudden, the balance of power within whole neighborhoods changes. What role are you going to play as this occurs? Well, you don't have to wait. You plan by practicing. Oh, yeah, told you it would come here. Understand, it really does end up here. You practice. When we practice in a small space, and you build strength again and again, and you set goals within your practice, and you go deep within your practice, and you embrace the willingness to contend with whatever feelings arise in your practice, you are culling yourself, you are pruning yourself, you are cleaning yourself, so you are intentionally going in and cleansing the exact forces that turn super negative when Gaia turns up the volume. When we go after such things on purpose, we don't have as many negative things to be amplified. when Gaia turns up the volume. Gaia is turning up the volume. It's all centered around the solstice of this year. She turned it up a lot, and she made some changes that are not going to shift back. Over the past month, I've been having some of the most extraordinary, beautiful feelings, experiences of knocking through boundaries that I've never been able to cross, experiences of reclaiming potential that I held 15 years ago, experiences of being able to dream in a positive way that I haven't been able to see. And we've been struggling, been fighting more than I like to, but a lot less than I used to. It's not okay. But when you encounter the negative feelings within yourself and within the people you love, between the people you love, if you're able to bend them and bring it into context, and you work to draw your attention into the positive, you work to get back and practice and create more positive. When your mind is not able to play a positive energy law of attraction game, fucking get on the mat. This is survival. This is not a mental exercise of willpower to look cute or strong. This is survival in relation to terror and trauma. And when you practice before it feels awful, it's a little easier because you've got the tools available. But by all means, if you aren't in it yet, choose to get in it when things get tough. Because the act of learning to presence yourself and move into your challenge is the shift in consciousness that you most need. It doesn't matter if you can get up on your feet to the same height. It doesn't matter if you can bend as low. Not yet. Those things are tools to help you go deeper. It's the consciousness space of saying, I will take this on. I will confront it. I will be present with it, and I will bend this because I believe that the core frequency of love that is shifting in our lives is more important than anything else that's going on. I won't let that fear of the fire coming over the hill be the biggest force I feel. I won't let a vision of a zombie apocalypse be the most dramatic or influential feeling I fear. And better yet, you won't let the interjection of those fears. You're going along your day, you're trying to be positive, and then you feel the fear of fire. Somebody goes, oh yeah, God, it's scary that I can't breathe today. Yeah. Don't let it derail you. Don't just numb it. Don't just hold it down. Don't. Do bend it. Bend it. Bend it. You bend it by saying, I'm not going to just wish this wasn't here. I'm going to allow this force to be present, but what? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? It starts here. It starts in your practice. I'm offering you a scale from gentle to very difficult. And I'm inviting you to realize, don't aim for more than an hour. Just don't. But do aim for very intense hours. Don't push yourself into very intense hours when you don't have the skill to do it in a way that's effective. Do push yourself at exactly the level you're capable of being at. You are wrestling with the terror that is affecting everyone. You are wrestling with the vibe. And once you identify the way your vibe changes in relation to the fears that are present, whether you think about them or not, when you identify the vibe, now you know what to work with. And I'm saying, don't just try to make it disappear. Bend it. You're going, ooh, ooh, ooh. You're feeling it and you're moving it. You're feeling it and you're breathing. That burns some shit, yo. Try these on. Yoga is the most powerful martial art in the world. I studied with Aikido and Kung Fu masters. I've been around karate all my life. Yoga is the most powerful martial art in the world because it enables you to change your vibe so you never have to fucking fight. The energy of a fight magnetizes. When you carry enough rage in you, The world, spiritual presence, knows somebody else within your range who carries a similar kind flavor of rage. The world's very efficient. She pits things against each other. It's the law of negative attraction. You will attract to you a mirror to the negative forces that are present or potential within you. So if you magnetize something negative, understand that happened out of a soup of potential that could last years of being near someone who has a similar relationship to negativity. It's just similar. It's not perfectly aligned, but similar. Years of being in a similar relationship to somebody near you, and you're eventually have the potential of being drawn towards each other. But if you change your relationship with your negativity by channeling it yogically, what you're doing is you're embracing the force and you're bending it. And when you embrace the force and bend it, here is where it starts to get exciting. Because now you have taken your own potential. And believe me, Gaia is measuring this more than anything. What do you do? What do you do with your potential? She's not measuring if you get crushed by fear. She's measuring if you struggled not to be crushed by fear. Get it? And then she's breathing life into your next chance. I believe you, you got another chance. You die, you get another chance. So when she watches you, she's asking, what are you doing with your potential? When you start just making the connection, I feel like shit, I'm going there. I feel like shit, I'm going there. And you bring it there and you do what you can. I'm telling you, don't do more than an hour. If an hour doesn't change it, it's another action that needs to come next. What you do is you do the hour, you meditate for 20 minutes. You can meditate for a long time out. I don't encourage you to meditate for more than 20 minutes, but I give you permission, like you need it, to meditate for an hour. I haven't found much value in meditating more than an hour, and I usually don't meditate more than 20 minutes. But you do an hour of intense work and 20 minutes of meditation. By the end of that 20 minutes, you should have a clear sense of the healthy actions you can take with the rest of your day. You're not just doing something that's a response to negativity. You're doing something to presence your potential, transmute effectively what's with you, and then to focus you on the next steps. This is shaping your vibration and evoking a clarity of health. And from this perspective of health, you ask your questions. You say, what do I do about this? What do I do about this? And as you get better at this, you're in a place where you're asking your question from the perspective of clarity you created in your practice. When you ask the question, right away, you're going to start to feel the answer. Now, this doesn't happen immediately for many people, but it does happen eventually. So I want you to imagine it. Eventually, you clear yourself with the yoga, you deepen yourself into meditation, you ask your question. You're not turning off all your thoughts. You're spending some part of your meditative time intentionally thinking about what's happening. And when you ask your question, you immediately feel the vibe. All you really have to do is say, is that vibe in harmony with my practice, or is that vibe in opposition to my practice? If that vibe is in opposition to your practice, don't trust it. Not in its current form. It still needs reshaping. But from the perspective of the depth you can create with a healthy practice on into meditation, you'd be astounded how effectively your mental and heart vision attention, and I mean this, when you're seeing with your heart and your mind is following that focus to look at a possibility, you can bend shit. Don't just react against something if it feels negative. You ask your question, you feel the first response, which is in part going to be just your legacy. What are you carrying? What's your habit? What's the groove that you've established in life? And you're going to feel that response. It's your job to bend it. And as you bend it, you're bending it with the prayer. The prayer itself of what is health in this is an active force that starts to bend the vibration. And as you bend the vibration, you are trusting that this presence of spirit and love is going to reveal to you something healthier. as long as you navigate in relationship to your vibrational presence from your practice. Your practice is your measure. You ask your question, you get a response, you bend it in harmony with the strength you've evoked in your practice. And then you say, what is this? Once it starts to resonate, you're going to start to get really clear answers. The other day I did an amazing sun surrender. I recorded it. At the end of it, I bawl. I'm just crying. I got a very deep confirmation and appreciation from a whatever. I don't want to tell you. It's mine. I got a very deep confirmation and appreciation, and I released a tension I've been carrying a long time. And the beauty of that cleared me even deeper. And then coming out of that, it was just easy. What do I do next? What's important for the rest of my day? And then I do that. I do those things. I almost never take more than 3 priorities. It's hard to remember and focus more than 3. You get 3 priorities and you do those things. You don't let distractions undermine it. You make sure those things happen. And often, if you're really tuned, often one of those priorities is about loving the people around you. So you're going to put a priority on really appreciating your time with your children or your partner, or calling a friend. I often get call this friend, and call them with the spirit of the love that you evoked in your practice. Now, you do this, and the real magic occurs. Because now you have intentionally learned to bend the negative forces that are present in your reality, whether they're your own or the product of the accumulated, morphic field of fear and pain of your neighbors and friends, both physical neighbors and emotional neighbors, spiritual neighbors. So you take responsibility for whatever's here, whatever's in proximity to you in either of those planes. Why? Because you fucking have to. If you don't do it, you're going to be victimized by it. If you don't do it, you're going to live in reaction to these things. I'm not judging you. This is where most of us come from. But as you learn to own it and reshape it in these ways, something very special happens. You start to know what to do. At first, that looks like these 3 priorities I'm mentioning. Make sure you get this piece of work done. Make sure you get upstairs a little early and help make dinner. Make sure you take that time consciously and with love. And if that's one of the things that comes to me in meditation, I hold that as one of 3 priorities. And then I make those things happen. And after a while, you get a momentum going. And the momentum it starts to reveal it to you in the middle. You don't have to be right at the end of practice anymore. But use this practice time to get into it, to light your fire. And then you start to know what to do when you get scared of fire. You start to be able to say, okay, it's legitimate that I'm scared of my town burning. Realistically, is that a danger? I can tell it's not a danger now. I can tune in and ask, do I need to buy 50 pounds of survival food? Nope. My vibe is giving me these answers, and I trust the core of my practice to be a good common denominator. I'm tuning to it, and thus I could ask questions about the big issues, the world issues. Because right now, you can I just saw you on YouTube, a guy filming a tornado tear apart his neighbor's house. So the tornado's right over there. Now, did these things always happen? Yes, but undoubtedly they're more common right now. So you can be afraid of all sorts of shit right now. You have to be able to discern. Is it legitimate? Is it really something you need to be conscious of? And as you get better and better at this, you're going to get to keep living and keep focusing on very positive things. As long as you let life keep bending you, because you are bending the negative feelings that you feel, but realize life is giving you something. There's a momentum to the spirit that life is bringing to you, and trust it. Trust it, because the more you care and the more you put your effort in within the range that you have the potential to shift, it's like you've become a valuable plant in Gaia's garden. She's going to take better care of you. She's going to trick you into going on vacation when it's dangerous where you are. You don't have to keep evaluating every single day whether something is safe to do. You get to live back in a new kind of depth of kind of wild positivity. Like, hey, a lot of people during the Black Death in Italy, they retreated to the countryside, lived in mansions and partied, wrote poetry for years. If you don't choose to evoke positivity in the face of these things, you will fail. If you choose to only evoke positivity that's familiar to you, you will fail. If you let life show you the negative that's present that you carry, or that for whatever reason is brought to your doorstep, you take that on. You rise to it. No matter what it is, you rise to it. This is a really good place to start. Then you bend it and you say, what positivity is available to me? And that's where the miracles start occurring. See, people, miracles are here. Amidst the chaos, a lot of skepticism and fear is freed up. The fear is focused on the fires. The fear is focused on the diseases. Don't have time for you. Doesn't have time to tell you you're a witch and burn you. And within that, all sorts of other things are happening. Start watching for them. Start telling us about them. At no time will I be unhappy if any of you post a link to an incredible news story about joy, love, healing, miracles. Do it. Post. Join our space. Join the sanctuary and share such things. Please. It's not to wipe out the negative. It's to keep focused on the positive and to be so strong and healthy with it that we know how to bend the negative. How do you know when to do that? Anytime you're super scared. Anytime you're super scared, it's time to bend. Bend. And start with your practice. It's a really, really powerful way. I traveled for 10 years through very dangerous communities in which I was threatened more often than I care to. I counted 20 times I almost died. 20 times when I legitimately feared I could die. It wasn't off the mark, it was legit. Now, when looking back on it, some of those situations, I wasn't going to die. But some of those situations, I was damn close. And regardless, I was in the fear of it. But I practiced yoga. My favorite memory is like I hitchhiked with a partner a great deal. We slept under a tree halfway the distance to our goal, spread out our whole thing, got up early and I did my yoga. It was beautiful effing practice. I slept in San Francisco once for 3 nights on the streets. I didn't know what to do. So I went and I meditated in the main, like in front of City Hall until I heard a voice that said, follow me. Literally in my head, voice said, follow me. 4 blocks, turn left. There, turn right. And there was a perfect little nook in a nice neighborhood, clean, invisible from the walkways. I slept there for 3 nights. I even left my backpack there. What did I do when I got up in the morning? I walked to City Hall and I did yoga. I did yoga and I meditated. I kept my vibe clear and strong. And in so doing, I had an amazing awareness of where to go, what to do, what to trust. People didn't steal shit from me because I knew how to walk. I knew how to walk through life. It's a very useful skill under every circumstance. And when you know that you have it within your capacity to keep your challenges moving, I wasn't just doing yoga. I was doing one-handed handstands against a tree. So I can't do free one-handed handstands, but it didn't matter much. I was handstanding, putting a foot against a tree, lifting an arm. I was challenging myself. I was evoking strength within my fear. It's fun. You want to enjoy it enough that you know how to embrace it when it happens, but not so much disasters in your life. You have to be able to get yourself into a depth of challenge under fairly normal circumstances, because otherwise you will literally pray for negative things. If you can only evoke strength during negative circumstances, you're going to actually, in a haphazard undercurrent way, pray for negative circumstances, because that's the only way you come to life. I mean, trying to shock you a little to be like, do this on purpose. Don't wait to get sick. Don't wait to get hurt. Don't wait for a drama to spark you. By all means, use those sparks when that's all that works, but try to get yourself in a position where you don't need that next time. There is no shame in breaking down, but please pray for better. Pray that you can live through it without having to break down. There is no shame in falling, none. But please pray to get better balance. You get it? You get it? There's a dance here. It's a beautiful one. I'm sorry I haven't said hi yet. This has been coming through strong, and I wanted to just keep it flowing. Claudia, I'm so glad you're here. I've been wondering how you are. Trevor, good morning. Erica, Misty, Angie, Ryan, thank you so much for being here. Janie, JD Vic, love to you from Norway. I just told someone I am considering I really and a sense of mission on a level I never have. I want to do this for more people. And I really want to go to Europe next year. I want to do a 3-stop tour where I come out with a little, I'm being honest here. I want to come out with a little more money than goes in. Eventually I'd like it to be more substantial than that. But right now I just want to make it work. 3 stops. And my wife was like, do you know anybody in this country? Do you know anybody in this country? I'm like, I know someone in Norway and someone in Sweden and someone in Holland and France and Germany and Portugal. It's exciting. It's really exciting. So not to go too far here, but if you are interested in co-sponsoring such a thing where you could, help organize, here are the things that we can do. A concentrated training for the first course. It would take about 2 weeks, half a day every day. A intensive readings time where I lead a meditation, and then we do, an Abraham Hicks X. People come up one at a time, maybe 10 people come up, and we do an impersonal on the hot seat, helping you interpret your meditation and me offering meditative spiritual insight into what's going on. It's really cool. It works better in person than it does over the internet, I promise you. And it's exciting. So a whole room could be deeply inspired. Everybody could do the meditation, which is a very unique gift of this approach. And we charge for it. And then with the training, so if there's a training for the course, that could be like half a day. And we could also do a morning yoga every day that a smaller group of people can take, or a bigger group than the small trainees. So these are all options amidst other things that we can come up with. A real inspiration for me is to work with a business, get paid a little more, and be hired to take everybody through some of these processes, teach you all the standing flowers. So everybody in the business, a business I believe in, a business doing good, conscious, ecological work in the world, teach you how to work together and base it on this vibe. So you learn to tune to the standing flower, then you learn to tune to communicating what you recognize intuitively. You learn to communicate with each other about what you're recognizing intuitively. You work better together. You get to tune into synchronicities. You'll do a better job. Now, I only obviously want to do this for organizations I believe in, who are part of a new world that's healthy, that does transformational work in the world, but makes money, is empowered. I'm tired of this, give me money. It's disempowered to always have to ask for it. Offer something awesome, beat out the competition, win, and do good for the world. Let's aim for all of these things, that I'd like to help you do it. So this is another option of a service that's available. And if you want to be a part of making something like this happen, then you make some of the money. We'll work it out. I haven't done it before in this scale, so we'll figure it out together. And if you're inspired to help do that, I'd love to go to 3 places in Europe. So please keep that in mind. With my family, incidentally. We don't have to stay in the richest place on the planet. We need a nice place. We're even willing to stay in your house if we have a room with kids. Bed and breakfast might be preferable, or an Airbnb might be preferable for everybody involved. All of this stuff makes me excited, brings positivity. And the way I live life, the more I'm open to such opportunities, the they'll happen synchronistically. They'll happen in tune. And they'll happen where hurricanes aren't happening. Get my drift? Oh my goodness. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate. Oh man. And Tom gets the, all right, people. Tom, this just came. Tiki torches made by Tom, which I just love. So that's beyond compare. I love tiki torches, and I hate plastic tiki torches. But more importantly, people, I carefully put them away, so I'm having trouble finding them here. Oh, I know where they are. Now, this is a bigger deal than you might think, even if you don't relate to it. These are pendulums. This tool is one of the most incredible tools for tuning into your intuition. Show me yes. Stop. Show me no. Really worked. Now you do have to trust that I'm not doing that on purpose with any physical awareness. Stop. That's how I learned to be intuitive, people. I learned. I worked at it. That was 25 years ago that I was taught how to use a pendulum to read my intuition. This tool, Tom just made them. He's made a bunch of them, and he can make more. So I want him to be making money on these, but he sent me the ones he sent me so far. And this is a primary tool to develop your intuition and take it to the next level. They're gorgeous. They're just incredible. And how inspiring is it when someone brings their talents and into what we're creating together in a way that just, it's a blessing to all of us. Like this, you know, I have no words, man. Bless your heart, Tom. Thank you so much for being you. If you want one, get in touch. We are all here to bring our gifts to the table. It's a stone soup. And when we contribute to creating together, it takes us past the limits of anything that we could see. I love creating this way. I love it when people bring thoughts and insights and potential to the table that just take it beyond any vision I have on my own. It's gorgeous. And we're dancing in this kind of potential, people. So please be open to a sense of how is spirit calling you? How is spirit moving you? What could you do and offer to the world? And think with us. We've got an amazing, incredible nexus of strength here. And I promise you, I have been wrestling for years with some of the worst forces in my country and the world. It is so much better now that I have you guys, that we have a network all over the world. It's energetic. So when we have anchors all over the place, a lot can change. I remember not knowing how to move energy, being with a woman who I loved. She was my lover. And we got in a pretty bad space. And she's like, look, I have to go move the energy. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? She went to Walmart. And I was like, she didn't buy anything. And I'm like, what did you do? But she came back in a totally different vibe. We have the potential to move energies in life. And I assure you, the potential we have as a community, no matter how small we are, it's not all that small. By the way, just had first video launch within 2 days, got more than 1,000 views. It never happened. That's really exciting for me. I hope you can listen to it if you haven't. I hope you can, experience the joy of it. It's really fun. So we're reaching broader than ever. And the connection we have enables us to trust ourselves. It enables us to anchor the potential that we share in a way that it's more interdependent than you may recognize. And it enables us to get into the practice more easily. It enables us to keep the vibrations of the practice going more easily. And it enables us to withstand jolts to our own personal experience more because we have a network to work with us. It's very empowering. It's very special. And it couldn't work if you weren't who you are, if you weren't capable of reaching across the distance and allowing this to be a meaningful part of your life. It's a lot harder to let something that you're connected to through the internet only sporadically be a part of your life. And when you do the practice, you bring it into your reality, into your physical place in a way that allows you to withstand changes, in a way that allows you to move through the rest of your life, but stay centered and tuned with your practice. Thank you for being you in this. Thank you for investing your hearts in it. I think we can't even measure of the dozens of people, of the dozens of people who are deeply committed here, and of the hundreds of people who are very present and care and watch. 700 people watched something last month, and that just went through the roof with 1,000. That's a lot of people. This is really special. Of all these people, I think it's difficult to measure who's giving what and how much. We are all more than any one of us could be. And I'm more than honored to be in this role. Thank you for your trust. Oh, Misty, thank you. What a great thing to look down and read. Please do, Tom. And please, anyone who has not considered, please consider joining the sanctuary. We are about to move over there in about 5 minutes or so to do a meditation and readings together. And I'm excited to see you. Please consider clicking on the website, wildflowerfire.com community, to see how to join us if you haven't already. Talk to you soon.